Thank you and good afternoon. Special thanks to the Precious Metals Forum for having us back. This is one of the best conferences out there, so free plug. I'll, of course, be making forward-looking statements. So we're going to talk about our three projects, Manh Choh, Johnson Tract, and Lucky Shot. And we're developing these with using a different model than I think most people are approaching it. This is with a DSO, we call it a DSO, direct shipping ore model. The fact that we've got high grades allows us to pay for the transportation ride to an existing mill facility. What this does is shorten timelines to production by simplifying permitting, and it lowers our capital spending hugely. We've done this with Manh Choh now, is in production. We're going to do this with Lucky Shot and our Johnson Tract project. So I'll just walk you through the plans here. Just quickly, we're a U.S. listed company, NYSE American, 12 million shares outstanding, very tight share capital structure. We're in good shape financially. We've got a lot of money in the bank. We're getting more money in the bank with our production from Manh Choh right now. So we're in a great spot. And management owns a significant part of the company, so we're vested alongside our equity owners. So starting out with Manh Choh, Central Alaska, eastern Central Alaska, on land owned by the Tetlin tribe. So this is tribal land. We've outlined a resource. Contango discovered it, and we partnered with Kinross because they had an underutilized mill at Fort Knox. So with 8 grams per ton, that's one of the highest grade open pit gold mines in the world right now. Can easily pay for the truck ride. It costs a little over a gram to do that. So you got 7 grams to make money with. The joint venture with, we formed a 70-30 joint venture, so our ownership is 30. And we've been able to get this thing into production, again, using this DSO model, simplifying the permitting process and really shortening the time frame to get into production, which for a junior company these days takes a long time. We poured our first gold on January 8th, and we processed about 200,000 tons. Average grade was 9.5 grams. That's 1.5 grams better than the feasibility grade of 8, which is normally what you do. You try to high grade the mine. Our share of production was 16,200 ounces of gold, which we sold along with the silver for about $36 million. That's in the joint venture account, and we expect to get a distribution here shortly. So stay tuned for that announcement. We're going to have 2 more batch processes this year. This is batch process. It's very different from Fort Knox ore, and mainly from a tailings perspective. Our ore is very sulfide rich. It leaches very well. You can see the 96% recovery on the gold. So 89% was in the feasibility study. So we're doing well on pretty much all the scores right now. I think we're going to be producing on the higher end of the guidance, so I think we'll be in the 40,000 ounces by the end of the year. Our all-in sustaining costs are about $1,116, so our margin is about $1,000. So it makes for easy math when you think about our production on an annual basis and our free cash flow on an annual basis. In order to get this thing into production, we had to borrow some money because the equity markets, as you all know, suck. And so we put hedges in place as a result of that because bankers want to make sure they get their money back. They're at 2025, and they're 60% of this year's and next year's ounces. So we get to sell 40% at spot. So the blended price was about $2,200. So I wish the hedges weren't there, but they are, and we're still making good money. So in a little over 3 years, we've gone from forming the joint venture with Kinross, getting our feasibility study done, getting the permitting done. It was simple permitting. It's an 18-mile road at a 6% grade to connect the mine site to the highway. The mine operating permit is issued by the state of Alaska. It's a quarry operation. We're on top of a hill, as you can see from the photo there, so there's not a lot to permit. There's not a lot of water to worry about. We have a water treatment plant that we'll likely never use. And so start to finish, we're now in production, and we've got a good 4.5-year, 5-year mine life ahead of us. So we want to do this model again. We like this model: wash, rinse, repeat. There's criteria that we look at to duplicate this model. It's got to have grade. It's got to be close to infrastructure. It's got to be on land that you can work on. So our fundamental rule is we don't work on federal land in the United States. It's just too big a pain in the butt. Most of the land we work on is all private, and most of it's owned by Alaska Native corporations or the tribes themselves. So I talk about this hybrid royalty model. I want to explain that a little bit. So in order for the DSO model to work, you need those 4 criteria. And there's a huge pool of opportunity that we see there. Because the Lassonde curve, which is, everybody knows, I think everybody's seen it and discussed it. What used to take in the 90s when Pierre Lassonde came up with a curve, used to take 2 to 3 years to do a feasibility study and get your permits, and then 2 years to build the mine. So you used to be able to get this stuff done in 5 years. It was still a valley of death there, but you can get out of it. That is no longer the case. It's not 5 years anymore. It's 10, 15, 20 years to go through that whole process. And juniors have a really tough time maintaining, unless you're backed by the Lundins or Pierre Lassonde and that kind of horsepower, it's really tough. So we refer to this as the orphan period, and we think there's lots of opportunities for applying our DSO model in that space. Now, what characterizes, why do I say hybrid royalty? Well, what characterizes a royalty company is they either acquire royalties or they financially structure a royalty to provide the capital to build the mine or whatever, and then they let the major do the operator do all the heavy lifting. Well, we like that model. So what characterizes our company? Well, it's very much like the royalty company. Small group of people, we have 12 employees, and we're generating, $50 million of free cash flow this year. We acquire with our nose for ore, we acquire projects and we advance them with our geologic expertise. We both have risks. We're a co-owner, so we have the same operating risk as the operator. I know royalty companies like to say they don't have any operating risk. They just don't have any control over the operating risk. They have the same risk. I think Panama demonstrates that in spades. So now royalty companies get a nice premium valuation, and that's the thing that we want to emphasize to investors is we think we should as well, and that's because of cash flow per share. Another metric is cash flow per employee. If you ask any manager what's the hardest part of their job, it's managing their employees. And you can see here with junior producing companies, they don't make a lot of money per person that's employed. Majors do better. Anglo Gold has 100,000 employees, and they work in a bunch of jurisdictions. That's not easy. That takes a lot of heavy lifting. The royalty companies, of course, they're at the top. We're in the middle. That's why I'm referring to it as a hybrid model. The tech companies are kind of all over the place. Amazon has 1 million employees. Netflix has a very small amount, and so they're at the top end of that spectrum. So this is something that's sort of driving our business model, letting the majors do the heavy lifting and getting into a minority ownership position and letting them do what they do best and letting us do what we do best, which is explore. Our cash flow per share, I love this slide because it sort of reemphasizes that same position. A small amount of people to manage. I'm sure we'll grow a little bit. I don't plan on having several hundred employees anytime soon. Maybe we'll get to 20. There's nobody in the peer group that sort of comes anywhere close to this. And part of it's our share capital structure, but it's also how we just do business. So this year we're going to generate 30 to 40,000 ounces of gold. As I said, I think we're going to be at the higher end of that range. Next year, the feasibility study had 67,500. We're going to redo the mine plan. I should say Kinross, it's a royal we here. Kinross is going to redo the mine plan. I suspect when this was done, it was done at $1,450 gold. They'll redo it at a higher gold price and probably lower the cutoff grade and get a few more years out of it. Now our Lucky Shot project, which I'll talk about shortly, we see that as a 30 to 40,000 ounce a year startup mine. It's very simple. I'll explain that to you. So that gets us up over 100. And then our recently acquired Johnson Tract project. This is a beautiful ore body. We think that can be producing in the 100 to 150,000 ounce a year range. So that's our 5-year plan. And I just want to walk you through these 2 other assets that fit this DSO model And again, why we can advance these quickly is we're not building a mill, a tailings facility, and a power plant to run all that. We're simply permitting a mine. In case of JT and Johnson Tract and Lucky Shot, they're both underground mines, so they already sort of naturally have small footprints. Lucky Shot is located just outside of Anchorage. You can drive a minivan up to the portal. Great infrastructure. We're 20 miles from the Alaska Railroad. We don't have a deal with Kinross, and this could go to Kinross's Fort Knox operation, but it could go somewhere else. It could go down south. There's a few mills on the water down there. When you're on the rail, that's about a third the cost of trucking costs, so gives you some flexibility. Now, we've got a 100,000 ounce resource at 14 grams, so we tick that grade as king box. We're near infrastructure, so we're ticking all the boxes here. It's on private land. This mine was in operation from the late 20s to 1942 when President Roosevelt used the War Act to shut down all gold mining in the United States. It was shut down administratively, not because it hit a fault or ran out of ore. We're simply going to just keep drilling down dip from where it was mined historically. They mined 250,000 ounces at 40 grams. Now that was selectively mined, pretty much like the pictures that Christina showed. They mined these narrow veins, high grade. We're going to mine on a 3-meter basis, and so we're going to use something more in probably the 12 to 15 gram range is what we're chasing. We've got the underground in position. We've done all the underground work from the in-search level, so we're underneath the ore body. We're drilling short holes. All that infrastructure is in place. We just need to do the drilling. It's fully permitted as a mine site, so if we throw rocks in a box and haul them up to Fort Knox or somewhere else to process. And this is a mesothermal quartz vein. It's quartz and gold. There's nothing else in the rock, no sulfides. So it's in a granodiorite. It literally is tombstone rock. So this is, we think this is going to be fairly straightforward. It is a district. 1 million ounces of alluvial production came out of here, so that's a hell of a soil anomaly. And there's dozens of other known mesothermal veins hosted in the granodiorite. So got lots of places to explore long term. Jumping down to Johnson Tract, we acquired Higher Gold here a few months ago. Nice resource, 1 million ounces. These are one of the orphan companies I referred to. They had a great resource, they have a great team, but the capital markets weren't giving them any capital. So we have capital, so we're going to advance this. This is awesome. These are some of the best drill results that you can point to over the years. It's good grade, it's polymetallic. It is a fat ore body. It averages about 40 meters thick. Great setup, it's a great camp. It's about 10 miles from as the crow flies to the coast, and be about an 18-mile road. So about the same distance as the road we built for Manh Choh. In this case, we're not getting to the highway, we're getting to the ocean. Build a barge landing site there, and you're off to the races. The road there to the proposed portal site, it's a 3-mile road. We just completed permitting for that. It's a 404 wetlands permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. That's our only federal permit that we're going to need here in the short term to get this mine developed, the underground put in place. Now, it's in that location because you can see where the Johnson, actually, I guess you can't see where the Johnson Tract project is because it's between those two big mountains. It's a great location, but not easy to drill. So we're going to put the underground in place, and then you can access the ore body and develop it using gravity. It's all above the water table. These are all these characteristics that we like to look for to making it an easy ore body to permit. So all of our development work will be in the post-mineral day site, no acid rock drainage, no metal leaching, and we're taking all the sulfides out and processing them at a mill to be determined. And we're talking to a number of folks. Grade's king. So if you've got a mill that's running 6 grams per ton, they'll come talk to you when you bring them 9. Lots of exploration upside here. This is a magnetotelluric survey, just shows where the sulfides are. Huge alteration system out here. 5-year plan. With Manh Choh in production now, generating good cash flow, use the money, bring in Lucky Shot, make more money, bring in Johnson Tract. And again, very simple plan, very simple from a permitting perspective. The land is owned by Syria. That's the last thing I'll say. It's an Alaska Native Corporation, so we've got a good Alaska Native partner. And I think I'm out of time.
Perfect. Got 1 second left. Oh, it's over. Thanks, Rick.